Hello there, and welcome to the Potin' Puffin' Podcast. And I'm your host, Jake Thomas. And laying down beside me is Keita, the elk hound. And so this week, Kalsin has had some pretty good antics going on. So when we were on our way back from Arkansas last week, we stopped in Anchorage for a night. And when we were in Anchorage, we went to Target. And while we're at Target, we told Kalsin, he could pick out one small toy that he could get, because we don't get to go to Target very often since we live on an island, so it's kind of like a special thing to get to go there. And so we let Kalsin pick out one toy, but we told him, it has to be small enough that it can fit in our luggage for when we fly back. And at first he wanted this robot spider toy. And he was all about that. And he was carrying it around the store and we're getting ready to go check out, and he's like, I don't want this toy. I'm like, why not? And he's like, it's gonna freak me out when we get home. I'm like, okay. So somewhere along the 10-15 minutes of us walking around Target, he decided that this toy that he really wanted at the beginning, he didn't really want. And so we go back to the toys, and he's looking, trying to find something else. And he finds this little robotic fish. And it looks like Nemo, so he calls it his robot Nemo. And he said that's what he wanted to get. And so we got it. Well, the other day, we're sitting around, and he's starts looking through, the cabinets where we keep our dishes, and he gets a little cereal bowl and starts filling with water. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I want Nemo to swim. And he fills up this little small bowl with water so that this robot fish that he got could swim around it. I'm like, oh, come on, kid. I'm like, and he sticks in there, and the bowl is not even long enough for the fish to swim around in it. It's barely even longer than the fish is. So I get up and I get a larger Tupperware container that's actually got a little bit of depth to it, and I filled that up with water, and then I stuck the little robot fish in that, and it's swimming around it, and Kalsin's just sitting there watching it in complete amazement, just watching this little toy fish swim around the water. I'm like, man, this is a lot cheaper than actually buying an aquarium and filling fish with it. But it was just so funny because he was watching it like it was a real fish, and yeah, so that was just really funny. And he's all talking to it, and so it's kind of weird. You don't get real fish, you get this little robot fish, and it's just funny. And then another thing he did this week is he has these two stuffed animal dogs, and he's holding them both, walking around with them. And one's a little husky dog, and one's a little corgi. And I was like, what do you got there, Bubby? And he's like, oh, I got snow dog and regular dog. I'm just I just thought that was just funny how he classifies the husky as snow dog, and then the corgi is just regular dog. What makes it a regular dog? I mean, why is it not funny dog or something? Because corgis are kind of funny. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. And then we got a good snow earlier in the week, and we went outside and we made a good little snowman. And of course, actually, it was mostly just Brandy who made the snowman. I made the head for it. And meanwhile, Kalsin's just sitting next to it eating snow while we make the snowman. He just had this big old snowball that he's just eating chunks out of it. I'm like, oh my goodness, kid. And then we're trying to find rocks in the driveway to use for the mouth and the eyes, and we're one short. I found a pine cone. It's here, this other rock can just be this pine cone. And Brandy was not having that. She did not want this pine cone to end up being the eye, so she went and found another rock out of the driveway. And it's like every time like I would think I had found a rock in the driveway, it would just be like snow that was like really dirty, that had been like pushed over from the plow. And I was like, oh, here's a rock, and I'd go pick it up, and it would just like break because it was just actually just snow that was like colored like gravel because of the plow pushing it and getting it, and the snow just got dirty. And so then we built a snowman, and so we put like little gloves and a hat on it and stuff. But then like once we were done, we took all that stuff off because we didn't want the wind to blow it away or someone to come steal the hat. And so like a day or two later, we're outside and Kalsin runs up to the snowman and he notices that the gloves aren't on it anymore because we took the gloves off like after we did pictures with it. And he's like, my gloves are gone. And he's like all freaking out thinking that his gloves are now missing. And I'm like having to explain to him like, no, your gloves aren't missing. I took them inside already. And he's like, but the snowman's hands are gonna get cold. And I'm like, well, he's a snowman. He's fine. And then, what was it? I think it was last night or the night before. I don't quite recall it. One of those 2 nights. I was getting ready to leave for work and I noticed he's like the snowman has like completely leaned over. Like it's like less than a 45-degree angle from the ground. And it's like just looks like his little stick arm is just like holding his body up. And then by the time I got off shift that night, it was all the way on the ground. But it was just funny because it's like the snowman's just like tilted, and so that was just kind of funny seeing that thing just completely tilted but not fallen over yet. And so now there's just like 2 big balls of snow sitting in the yard. And yeah. And then the other day, so Kalsin, he like really gets into Tom and Jerry. He likes watching Tom and Jerry. And I didn't realize that there's a Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka episode where it's basically they follows the whole like movie of Willy Wonka, and Tom and Jerry are like thrown in there. And so then later that day, I ended up having that Pure Imagination song that Gene Wilder sings stuck in my head. And so I started singing it, and Kalsin looks at me like, Dad, don't sing that. And I'm like, whoa, back up, because that was one of my favorite movies as a kid was Willy Wonka, and so I've always, liked that song. And I'm like, why are you telling me not to sing that song, kid? Like, I know I can't sing well, but geez. And he's like, that's a bad song. I don't like it. And I was like, whoa, now just really back up. I'm like, I can't believe my kid's saying he doesn't like this song from Willy Wonka that I liked so much when I was a kid growing up. Like, are we sure here, kid? And so, yeah. And then, so he's also going through like this huge like Sonic the Hedgehog phase. So like when he's on YouTube, he just watches like gaming streams of people playing Sonic the Hedgehog. He's the live action movie that they did. He watches it like 2 or 3 times a day for the past like week, and so he's like really into Sonic, and he's doing this thing where he runs up and down the hallway, and he like basically looks like he's Naruto running, but he's like, I got supersonic speed, and he just takes off doing this like Naruto run down the hallway, and it's funny. And he's like all big into Sonic right now. He like keeps introducing himself to people as Sonic the Hedgehog. He does that. He's always like found characters that I like, and he'll say that he's them. And now he's like, I'm not all these other characters that he's been before. Now he's like, I'm only Sonic the Hedgehog. But it's cool because I really liked Sonic the Hedgehog when I was a kid, playing the Sega Genesis and on the Dreamcast. Played a lot of the Sonic games on both of those consoles, and That's probably one of the first like video game franchises I really got into was Sonic the Hedgehog, the one that like I kept playing the longest. So that's cool. I like that he's really getting into Sonic. That's really about all that's gone on. So one thing is, one of my coworkers, we have a pretty similar taste in movies, and the similarities in our taste in movies falls into the category of types of movies my wife doesn't like to watch. And so he's like telling me about this movie the other day, and I'm gonna watch it when she goes to Anchorage next week. But I'm surprised I've never watched this movie before. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it either. But it's called Gentleman Bronco, and it's by the same director that did Napoleon Dynamite. And I'm a huge fan of Napoleon Dynamite. Like when that came out, I was all about that movie. Like I had the vote for Pedro shirt, and I really enjoy Napoleon Dynamite. I think it's just a very odd type of humor, and I really enjoy it. And so he's telling me about this other movie that that director did, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I've never heard of this. And then like I look up the cast and see Jermaine Clement is in it from Flight of the Conchords, which was another show that I really liked and is kind of similar in that style of humor. And but my wife, she does not care for Napoleon Dynamite. A lot of the the comedy stuff that I like, she doesn't like. Our movie interests overlap in other areas, thankfully. But like when it comes to comedy, our tastes are very different. And so my coworker showed me like one little clip from Gentleman Bronco, and it had me rolling. So I'm excited to watch that later this week. So I think it's gonna be a pretty good, funny watch for me. And yeah, I think it's right along the lines of something that I would have watched with my dad. So that's pretty cool that that recommendation kind of comes at this time, because it seems like something that I would have watched with my dad, because my dad's the one who introduced me to Flight of the Conchords. I watched Napoleon Dynamite a lot at his house. He's the one that bought me the Vote for Pedro shirt. So I kind of like really appreciate like this hidden movie that I haven't heard of that's right along the lines of something I would have watched with my dad be recommended to me right now. So that's kind of interesting and cool. So yeah, I'm excited to watch that later this week. And yeah, that's all I really have. And I thank you all for tuning in this week. If you enjoy it, please subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Potent Puffin. Like to interact with anyone on those platforms. Leave a comment here. Yeah, just let me know what you think. And I'll catch you all next week. And yeah, everyone have a good week.